Welcome to the Mindful Mama Movement podcast. I'm Shannon Kinney-Dew, creator of AFreeSpiritLife.com.
And I'm Ashley Walburn, owner of Home Holistic. And together, we are bringing you the Mindful Mama Movement.
Mindful mothering is about nurturing your heart and soul while you nurture your children. It's about consciously awakening to your inner wisdom and being peacefully present as a mama, no matter where you are on your journey. From discovering your newborn to loving and accepting the wonderful people who've left your nest. Our movement is empowering mamas to be authentic and to live inspired lives. We are so happy you're here.
To be free, to feel free, to be free.
Hey everyone, it's Shannon, and welcome to episode 18 of the Mindful Mama Movement podcast. In today's show, Ashley and I are talking to Sarah Doggett. Sarah is a good friend of mine, a friend I've never actually met in person, but we have been internet friends for a long time. She took one of my online courses several years ago, and since then we've stayed connected. I really consider her a dear friend, so this was a real treat to get to talk to her. And not only do we ask her questions about her life as a mom, her life as a doula, and her celebrations and also her struggles of raising 5 children. Her oldest is 16, and she had her last baby just 8 months ago. She talks about what it's like to be in the cave of motherhood. And it's just a beautiful conversation. And then halfway through the interview, Sarah turns the tables on us and asks Ashley and myself some questions about some of the challenges we're facing currently in our own life, some of the great joys of our life right now as moms and the stages that we're in, and why we created the Mindful Mama movement to begin with. So it was wonderful to get to reflect and to share with Sarah, and we're really excited to share this interview with you. Also in the show, we talk about self-care and how many of us don't even know what self-care really means. What is self-care? Is it another thing that we're supposed to add to our to-do list and we're already full as it is? How can this even be possible? And so I wanted to invite you, if you are one of those moms who feels like you're overwhelmed by even the thought of self-care, or maybe you just feel this longing, this desire to take better care of yourself. You understand that you want to put your needs a little bit higher on the list, but not sure how to do that. I am offering a new session of my online course, Inside Out, a creative adventure of self-discovery. We use art, journaling, writing, guided meditation, simple yoga, and connection to community. And it's all online. You can take it from home. You can wear your jammies. It's self-paced. So it's just a wonderful opportunity. And it is a time where we will explore 7 powerful self-care practices that you can start instilling in your life so that you can feel like you're nurturing your inner life and you're feeling more peace and calm and connected to that peace and calm, even in the mess, even in the chaos of your daily life. And so I'd love to take you on that adventure with me. For more details, you can visit www.afreespiritlife.com. And I'm also offering a free workshop, a little taste of that 8-week course. It's called The Art of Living Freely, and I'm offering it January 26th, 2017. So you can go to mindfulmamamovement.com where we have all the show notes and all the details there. If you haven't yet joined us on Facebook, you can look for the Mindful Mama Movement group. It's a very special space, actually, and we want you to be a part of it. So join us there on Facebook, and thank you for subscribing to our show. If you have yet to do that, go to iTunes and you can subscribe to our show. You can also find it on Stitcher, and please continue to leave your ratings and reviews. Your reviews help our show get to a wider audience, and we want to continue to grow the movement so we can bring moms together everywhere. So thank you and enjoy the show. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
It's so good having you here and getting to talk voice to voice. I'd love for you to share with our moms just a little bit about who you are and what stage of motherhood you're in. And then also, if you could just share how you and I met.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited. I am a mother of 5. I have a 16-year-old guy named Gus, a 15-year-old Eleanor, a 13-year-old Lucy, a 6 3/4-year-old Forrest. He's very adamant about that 3/4, and an almost 8-month-old named Felix. And so I've been at this mom thing for a while, and I kind of have kids in lots of different stages, and always on the path of mindfulness since the very beginning. And and I met Shannon because a friend of mine introduced me to your e-course, Inside Out, a few years ago. And it was a great thing for me to get introduced to. It's such a wonderful way to both connect with community online and to connect with my own creativity and my own need to express myself, my own need to have something in my life that's really exploring those dreams and thoughts and stuff that I have that are along with motherhood, but also outside of that. And so that was an amazing thing. And so Shannon and I have been online friends for quite a while now.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that we were talking before we recorded that, there's a lot of negativity out there on the internet, but the one thing that I've really loved is being able to meet women from all over the world and connect and build community. And I do feel like you and I are kindreds and, good friends, even though we haven't had the chance to be in the same physical space. I think it's still possible to find that community, and why, women are seeking that, whether it's locally or not. It's sometimes, I know so many people who live in small towns who can't find like-minded souls even in their area. So it's been really wonderful to connect online.
Yeah, I think it's also courses like yours and other things that are out there are great because sometimes adding one more thing that you have to go to in your life, like get out of your house and go to as a mom, is just too much. And for me, the online classes have been amazing for that, because I couldn't get out of my house to go to an art class every night, because sometimes the assignments are daily. I couldn't do that every night. And I couldn't, sometimes even it feels like a lot to do it every week for another thing. So it's amazing to be able to do that and be in conversation with other adults. And that's a real gift, a real gift.
Well, that's wonderful. And that's why I created it. The very first class I ever did, I had my first baby and I wanted to stay home, and same thing. And then baby number 2, baby number 3. And I kept saying, someday I'll get back to the yoga studio, or someday I'll get to an art class. And, that someday I realized was really never going to happen if I didn't find a way to integrate it right now. And so it just makes me happy to see so many moms, especially, who are finding ways to do that within the mix and craziness of motherhood. And yeah, the internet's amazing for that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yep, it is totally. I'm so glad you're doing it.
Thank
I'm so
you.
glad that we're all doing it together.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Sarah, can you tell us and our listeners what becoming a mother was like for you in your journey to motherhood?
Yeah. So I had been in a long distance relationship with my husband for 5 years, and I had just come back from India and moved in with him, and I got pregnant that week. And so I guess I was ready, and it was a surprise. And from the time that I knew that I was pregnant, I knew that I wanted a natural birth. And so I was lucky enough to be in the Seattle area, where it's a really common thing to want that, or it definitely was at the time. That was 1999. My baby was born in 2000. And also coming from my mom and dad were Lamaze instructors. And after my sister was born fairly easily and rapidly, my mom just said, "Hey, I don't need drugs. I don't need that." And they became Lamaze instructors. So I come from like that was my birth experience, was a natural birth, and my parents choosing that, and my dad being able to be in the room while I was born in the early 70s, which was kind of new. So my husband, on the other hand, his mom was a nurse, and he didn't understand why I would ever want to have a home birth, because that's what I really wanted to do. And so there was some education, not just for me, but for both of us, that needed to happen so that he could feel less afraid about having a natural home birth. And so we started reading Ina May's book, Ina May Gaskin's book, Spiritual Midwifery. And for people that don't know what that book is, it was written in the 70s. And it's beautiful black and white pictures of hippies that live on a commune. And a lot of people are like completely freaked out by this book and turned off. But for us, it was great because there's real birth stories of people giving birth outside of hospitals and the feelings and emotions that they go through. And most of the time, they're like stories of the couples, and sometimes it's from the guy's point of view even. So that bringing the dad into the story, I think, was a really important part of it for him. And we would read, it was like our bedtime story. So we would read them before we went to bed each night. And then when we got to the end of all those stories, he was like, "I don't want it to be over." So we started over at the beginning.
Oh, that's really special.
So through that, he became like an even bigger home birth advocate than I was. Like, he would go after Gus was born, he would like stop pregnant women and say, "You should have a home birth." And it was obviously a really powerful experience. And I did have a home water birth with midwives and a doula attending. And my doula was my yoga instructor. And so yoga and pregnancy have always gone together for me. And so I think that enabled me to have really amazing, like fairly easy births. And it, so that's sort of like the nuts and bolts of becoming a mom. And then becoming a mom, like emotionally and physically, like the emotional side of it, I think, it bumped me up another level into being me. That's the way I always think of it. It's like I was me, and then I became the mom me. And it's not my entire identity, but it wasn't even something that I knew I wanted to do. And it led me to my passion, which is helping moms and babies and families in that beautiful transition to familyhood and motherhood and all of that. So somewhere along the way, probably not very long after Gus was born, I decided that I wanted to study midwifery or become a doula or one of those things, that I wanted to be a birth worker. And so it took me a while to get there, because I then had another baby. So my daughter Eleanor was born 16 months after Gus, and then 20 months after her, Lucy was born. So I had 3 babies pretty quick. And it wasn't until Lucy was 3 that I actually became a doula. And I am not practicing now because I just had another baby. So I've taken lots of breaks from practicing as a doula, but it is my heart and it is my passion. And so that's kind of a little bit how I got. It changed me. It changed me a lot, and it's still changing me to become a mom.
Well, I'm sure you know this about me, but I'm a prenatal yoga teacher and a birth doula, and
Yay.
I did my training in Seattle. I trained at the Seattle Holistic Center, and
Who did you train with?
Colette Crawford.
Great. So did my yoga instructor.
Well, I figured.
I'm telling you, connection.
I know. This is a crazy little connection, but as soon as you said Seattle, I just traveled on my journey back there, and they are so progressive that I had natural childbirths with my babies, but it really was more uncommon that 12, 13, and 15 years ago, and I went in 2006 or 2005, 2006 to Seattle, and like everybody was eating their placenta. Everybody was having home births. And it was really powerful for me. And I came home to Kansas City, and I mean, we have a really different community and a strong prenatal yoga community. And I agree. It's, I feel so passionate. This was never work that I thought I was going to do, but here I am.
So go ahead, Sarah.
It's amazing to like see how, like, I mean, I think if you would have asked me when I was in college if I was going to have kids, it's not that I didn't like kids. I just like I didn't know how that was going to happen for me. Like I didn't have the plan of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not a real planner anyway, obviously, but like, to have it become the thing that I'm so passionate about is amazing. And I didn't even know. And I was studying like women's studies and things like that in college, but that's different. That isn't the same as what we're talking about. Yes, women's health is a part of women's studies, but this is, you know, working with moms and while they have babies and their families and their partners and all of that. It's just I feel like it's an amazing gift to be able to do it. And I feel like the gift of motherhood to me was both these awesome children and finding that passion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I also think the gift, what I love that you said is that you were bumped into another level of being you. That's really a powerful statement, really, because what I always hear, and I've said it myself, I felt this like getting lost in motherhood or this sense of like losing yourself. But really that's, you know, it's the self we've always had. It's just another level of it, another like open, expansive, like part of you that was always there. It just was dormant really until then this new thing happened, you know? I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you share just a little bit about the jump from having your 4 children to your sweet 8-month-old now, what that was like for you?
So there's already a pretty big break in between my 3rd and my 4th. So people have all kinds of names for these babies, but sometimes they call them caboose babies, right? Mm-hmm. Like all of us, you think you're done and all of a sudden you have another one. And I think I used to say when I was in the grocery store with 3 little kids pushing those little carts that kill your ankles, people would say, wow, you have your hands full. And I say, no, I love babies. And I was that kind of person that would have 12, but I only have enough patience for 3. That's what I used to say. Like I said it so many times. And I feel like, you know,
So someone is saying, Sarah, you need to learn more patience.
Right? They kind of came up and bit me in the ankles, right? So then Forrest came along 6 years after Lucy. And then just last year I had Felix, or Forrest was 7 years after Lucy and Felix was 6 years after Forrest. And it was a big surprise. And it was harder for me. The whole pregnancy was harder for me. I think mostly because of the emotional aspect of it. And I know other moms that have had this, moms in my doula practice, just other moms that are my friends, that like they were not ready to be moms again. And yet they embraced it and, you know, like obviously love their kids and everything. But I did have a mom friend. We were having tea in that early first trimester when I did not feel well for a lot of my pregnancy, which is really unusual for me because I usually feel pretty great. Tired, maybe a little nausea, but like I didn't feel physically well for a lot of my pregnancy, the 5th one. And she said to me, you know, I think a lot of people would gasp when you said it, but she said, motherhood is kind of like going into a cave. Like newborn motherhood is like being in a cave. And when she said that, I was just like, yeah, that is so true. And you can see the opening of the cave, and you can sometimes, like as they get older, like here Felix just started to sit. I can set him down and walk away from him and he's not going to fall over. Like I'm starting to be able to like stick a toe out of the cave. and sometimes I could even actually leave and go to the grocery store. And, like I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I have exclusively breastfed him. He hasn't really taken any bottles. I do have a breast pump, but we've only tried that like once or twice. And I know a lot of other moms, like they have to go right back to work. But I think their experience of that cave is maybe different, but it's also they have that experience. And for some moms, there's even postpartum anxiety and different things that are happening that makes it feel even more like a dark, not so pleasant cave. So I could really hear that. And one of the reasons it felt like that to me is because I was starting to make steps towards doing something of my own to help support our family and to follow my passion and I had started doing doula work again. And, and I kind of felt like I got like pushed back into the cave, and I was depressed about it for a little while. And I still have like ups and downs about it. Felix is possibly that, like even this morning, my husband and I were just lying in bed next to him, and he was so giggly and so happy. And I was like, he really is happier than the others? Isn't he? Like, is my imagination? He is a super duper happy baby and reminds me every day of the joy of life. And I'm so grateful he's here. And there's also this other feeling of like, okay, I kind of starting over with the steps to get on my way to doing something else. And I realize this, I'm speaking from a place of privilege that I have been able to be a stay-at-home mom. And I also know that other moms have these struggles, this kind of thing. So what do you ladies think about that?
Well, I mean, I, like you, see a lot of women becoming mothers. And I do think the being at home feels like a trap sometimes, and a cave is very, very clear for me. When I was having my babies, my last 3 are very close in age, and just getting out of the house was such a chore and exhausting and overwhelming. And so I did feel like I was stuck. And I was really actually jealous of my husband that he wasn't stuck. And I remember saying, like, tell me the office politics. Like, is somebody like, getting fired? Somebody have a really successful month? And he's like, okay, and I guess I'll talk to you about work. But I needed an outside light. I needed I got to get out of here. And my last baby was very unplanned. I had a 3-month-old when I got pregnant with him, and I was hysterical and honestly wished him away for a good part of the pregnancy. It was just like, God, there's moms, that can't have babies. Why do I keep having babies? I was really overwhelmed. And he also came and he's the anchor of our family. He's the most joyful, really probably person I know. He's such a blast. And so I feel so similar to you, that I couldn't have planned my family this way, but I absolutely wouldn't change a thing.
I think it's why it's important to have these conversations too. I remember when I had my first, looking up to the sky, and I literally, with being 6 months sleep deprived, I just felt like a zombie. And I really thought I was like the only person on the planet in that moment at night, looking up at the stars, like feeling that I'm in the cave, and I don't know when I'm getting out. And, but I like what you said about that there's a light, and so wherever you're at, like you said, there's some that are just, they're in it right now. And when you're in it, it feels like you're never going to get out. But looking back on it too and thinking, God, there is such a gift in just being in the cave, being able to, deal with some of the restlessness that we feel like we have to be doing something, or we have to be producing or showing something or making money or doing something that, is of value, out there. And it's a good practice, isn't it, to be there and to still find ways to nurture and nourish you. And what I want to know, Sarah, now that you're in it, and you're kind of feeling, you know, ups and downs in the cave, but in general feeling pretty up in the cave, like, do you have a certain self-care practice now that helps you feel okay in the cave?
Well, actually, one of the things that helped me throughout, and it's one of the other things I would say that has helped me to like feel another piece of myself, like becoming a mom. And this isn't a daily thing, but I found a dance class that I go to weekly when it's happening. It follows the same schedule as the homeschool center that we go to. So there's big breaks sometimes, and we all come back and we're like, oh, we're so glad to be back. It's basically a circle of women dancing together. And it is, I danced like when I lived in Sioux City at the time that we both did. I danced, I did ballet when I was little. I did jazz up until we moved from a different town, and I was a cheerleader in high school, I think, trying to get as close as I could to that dancing feeling. And I'm like, I have a dancer in me. I'm a dancer. That's one of the things that I do. And having that and moving in an intentional and also dynamic way weekly, while I was pregnant and now afterwards, has been a huge, huge part of how I have been able to stay positive and keep my pieces together. Like, yes. I will, and it's sometimes really hard to get there. Like what you were saying, Ashley, even this morning, I was crying all the way to taking my 6-year-old to his thing that he had to go to today because we were 10 minutes late, and I was really afraid that they were going to leave without him. And I was like bawling my eyes out because I like needed this day, not just because I was going to talk to you, but because I need a day that's mine to do with what I will. And, so getting out of the house, you know, like sometimes just getting there is a hard thing, but I get there, I make sure that I get there, and it is medicine. It is my medicine. It is my prayer. It is all of it. And yeah, I can dance around my house, and I do. And we turn on the music, and I've heard you say too, Shannon, that you guys have dance parties, but dancing within a circle of friends is a lot of it's different. And also I know that you probably both know the physiology of it is that we produce more oxytocin when we are in a circle of women, and you can feel it. It's just, it's amazing. So, that's one of the things I do. And lately I've been really trying to add, more, just movement into my everyday, because I know how good it is for me, and it makes me sane and happy. So, and my 13-year-old asked me last week, actually on Friday, interestingly enough, to start doing yoga with her every morning. So that's what I've been doing for the past few days. She gets up at 5 before she has to go to school and wakes me up and
Oh my gosh.
That is awesome. Really?
Yeah.
Whatever gets you through. I mean, she's like already so wise. Gosh.
I know. And she just like, I'm so grateful for her. Like, that she would ask me to do that. And this is a very, very new thing. Like, our relationship has not been anything close to that until like very recently. Like, it's been through its ups and downs through this whole thing too. So,
well, it's awesome. And it's a really great reminder for wherever you are in your stage of motherhood. If you're feeling like you're in some sort of cave that you're not quite seeing the opening, to just remember you're not alone, and to reach out and find those communities, find that little movement, do what you can to just feel connected to that part of you that can so easily get dim while you're just taking care of kids.
Right. And I met a mom for tea before this today, and told her that I was going to be doing this. And I said, what questions, or what would you want to know? What would you ask? And I told her about that metaphor of the cave, and she said that she definitely had that experience and had a baby that would not stop crying, and that she couldn't leave the house with, and was still in her pajamas at the end of the day. And she said, that still we need the word to get out there that there are communities available, and there are communities tailored to the needs of moms that are working, and moms that have babies that don't ever stop crying, and moms that homeschool their kids, and moms that, like all different kinds. And I think that the Mindful Mama movement brings all of us together, and we're all talking about it. And then there are also the other groups out there. And I think that is another plus of the internet, is that you can find them. You can have them be virtual communities, and then you can also meet up with people doing it, like right in your own community, which is great.
Yes. Well, that's a perfect segue into having the tables turned here. Sarah is one of our Mindful Mama volunteers. We just feel that exactly how you just described it is the more that we can bring women together in community in all stages of motherhood, because I love to meet the moms and the grandmothers who have been through it, who have their wisdom to share. And then I love hearing the stories about the new moms. And so it's just been a wonderful gift for us. And so Sarah has wanted to talk with Ashley and I, and we're going to let you take it from here.
Well, I know that you have talked about this before. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk to you both, first of all. But I know you have talked about this before, but maybe you could tell me and just kind of explain again what prompted you to create the Mindful Mama movement.
Well, it's so cool. There's certain moments in my life where when I look back on how something happened, it kind of like happened on its own. Like it took over, when you talked about Inside Out, like that was a really tough moment for me in my life. I had to make a risk to leave my job to work from home. And I remember sketching out that class, and I felt like the class wrote itself. And I feel like that with our Mindful Mama movement. Ashley and I have been connected through, first she took a yoga class with me, and then flash forward 6 or so years, and then I took a prenatal class with her. But we weren't really friends at the time until we reconnected through some yoga classes, and she helped me with some of my births. And but still we'd see each other once a year and just stay connected through some emails, but nothing much. And then this past summer, there was something that drew us together. Don't you feel that? Like we set up this time to meet, we had lunch, and we had no plan to work together or do anything.
No plan of a podcast. I mean, that for sure wasn't like what we were looking toward.
No.
Yeah.
And so by the end of that lunch, though, whatever it was, I just said, do you want to start a podcast? And Ashley, being Ashley's like, sure, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Truly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. Let's do it. Yeah. So that's how it originally started. But as I see it now, it's like Ashley and I have always had a similar passion. We explore it and express it in different ways. But the core of what we love is what you said, Sarah, bringing women together in community, in circle, reminding them that they're not alone, that they have a power within them that they can tap into at any moment, whether it's becoming a mother, whether it's going through that birth experience, whether it's being in that cave, whether it's flash forward, the kids are out of the house, and now what? There's this drive in us because we're seeking that. We're learning as we go along. We teach what you're supposed to learn. It's like I feel that, like as we stumble and fumble, we are inspiring others to be brave and to be themselves. And so for me, that's kind of how I feel this movement coming together, because Ashley and I have at least found enough courage that we want to share and be authentic and say, you know what, I don't have it all together. My life's a mess half the time. But I feel like if I share that and I say it, and I know Ashley feels this way too, that it gives others permission to be a mess, to embrace their mess, and to feel that they're normal and that they're connected to other people out there going through it.
Yeah, that I think for both of us that we see what we're doing on our podcast and our Mindful Mama Movement Facebook page as an extension of what we were already doing. That this, I mean, it's pretty effortless for us to come together and support moms because we've been doing it for a really long time, and it's just coming in a different way.
Right. I feel like it's it's nice to hear someone else's voice, like the actual hearing you talk is a lot different than like people sharing their posts on Facebook or writing a blog or whatever. Like hearing actual voices, it goes into my brain in a different way when I can like hear you speak about and to other people that are having, you know, these crazy moments in their motherhood and their ups and downs. And as we were talking about before the show, you have had some awesome guests on the show that are experts and in different ways, and authors and, you know, yoginis. And when I hear them speak to me and say that they're kind of going through the same stuff I am, and that they're, you know, in the different stages that their kids have been in and that they go through and with their spouses and all that, it's really, I feel hopeful that I'm going to get through it too.
Yeah.
Even when I was pregnant with the fifth, I would see a mom in the grocery store. I do a lot of talking to moms in grocery stores, with their big families. And I would ask them questions and just say, you know, like, how are you doing? Because I feel like we all need that kind of, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And to be able to have someone really listen to us is an important thing. And so I'm so grateful that you women did feel prompted to do this. And okay, so right now in your life, in your lives, what does it mean to you to be mindful? What does that look like, and what does it mean?
Oh gosh. For me right now, it's just self-care. That it's really easy for me to not do that. That's not even true. That I've gone through stages where I valued it and not. And so I've been in a not stage for a couple of years, opening Home Holistic, which is a brick and mortar whole holistic studio. So we have a yoga studio and a holistic center here. And it's just taken all of me, that balancing family and work. And I attend a lot of births. My doula partner and I attended 80 births this year, between the two of us, plus everything else that I'm doing. And that it's easy for me to be mindful in a moment, literally, that I can be mindful and present during a dinner or when I'm doing a podcast, that it's carved out time, but not really doing good self-care. So for me, it's slowing down, that trusting that Home Holistic's okay, and that if my doula partner is at a birth, that mom's okay, and I don't have to be giving my energy anywhere else than where I am right now.
Mm-hmm. I think trusting is a big word for me too. I feel like being mindful to me right now is about staying open and being adaptable, learning how to discern between things that come my way, maybe things that are even exciting, but maybe would take away my energy, take away my time with either my kids or my own self-care. So just really learning how to adapt and to understand that wherever I am in this moment is right where I need to be. And that I can trust that I don't have to force and push and try to make things happen in my time, the time that I want it to happen, but to be open that there is a timing. And as long as I plant seeds and just try to maintain what balance looks like to me and my family, that things will unfold as they need to. And that's a big part of being mindful for me right now, is learning to trust that.
Great. That sounds wonderful. So, Ashley, you mentioned self-care, and I kid you not, when I talk about self-care, I have had multiple women say, "What do you mean?"
Oh, us too.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Like, what? And you would think that the words themselves, self-care, would kind of, you know, and it's a big buzzword right now as well, too, I kind of think. But what what do you do for self-care? What does your self-care look like?
Just the, like what you were saying, something that Hala Corey said to me in a workshop years ago, and I wrote it down and I say it to myself a lot, is to be centered in yourself is not self-centered. And for me, it's anything. Like, what am I doing today? What am I doing to recharge my batteries? That I go hard. I've got a lot of kids. They go hard. We have a busy business and a busy life. And sometimes a girlfriend will ask me to dinner and I say no. And that's new for me. That not doing something, if it doesn't feel like it's going to fill my bucket. And Shannon and I have already said no to a few things with the podcast that isn't really my normal way. I'm like, sure, let's do it. Let's go. And saying no is self-care for me. Of course, yoga is, but I teach, 12 yoga classes a week. So sometimes just going for a walk with my dog is, being outdoors and doing something different for movement is self-care. And really, like, number one for me is I love coffee. I drink one really fancy cup every single day, and taking a bath and staying in there until I'm ready to get out.
I've seen your prune fingers shared on Facebook.
I know.
Yeah, I love Ashley's reminder about saying no, because I think that's a really hard thing for us. We all want to say yes and be helpful, with requests that come in, being on the PTA or helping with the neighborhood, fundraiser, whatever is, expected or asked of us. And I think it takes practice. I think it's hard to say no in the beginning. And then once you say no, it's really freeing. It's like, oh my God, you're saying actually yes to yourself when you're saying no to all these other things. So I love that reminder that that's self-care. And I think for me too, a lot of it is about being kind to myself. It's like a mental practice for me is self-care to when I feel maybe caught in negative thoughts or fear, or I should be signing my kids up for more activities, or I should be doing it this way. Those, just being able to let go of those judgmental thoughts or whatever, to me is a good practice for me. To be kinder to myself. Definitely physically, I try to have some sort of movement, whether it's going to be a walk or in the winter right now, it is my hot bath. It's just something, for me, what I feel when women are looking at what self-care is, what helped me anyway, is to look at your energy, what depletes you and what fills you up. And so once you learn that you're, say, an introvert or an extrovert, if you're an extrovert, you tend to recharge your battery from being around people. And so if you are, say, in that cave, or you do so much for your family and you put your self-care needs last, but you know that going out for girls' night is really what recharges you, then that's your self-care that you need to make space for and schedule it. I'm more of an introvert. So for me, I am so much better off if I have a little quiet time. Even if it's that 15 minutes, I can lock the door and have that bath. If I don't have a time to process or to just be alone, I feel really depleted. And so my self-care is daily. Sometimes I just have to assess it in the moment. If I have like today is a super packed day, and I have to find, even if it's sitting with that hot tea or coffee, my little luxury, but it's just that moment to say, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm recharging right now, and I'm taking care of what I need to move to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might not happen today, like when you think of the word, the noun, the cave, that sometimes I'll have like a busy week or a busy weekend, and then I have to have something to look forward to. And so like, when am I going to have this time to have a conversation with my husband, or to take a bath that can last a full hour if I want it to? And And then that really is what energizes me and gets me through the long days.
Great. Yeah. Well, that's all. Sounds very familiar and wonderful. And I'm glad to have that more information about self-care just out there in the world. How one of the things that I think happens with mamas is that when we start talking about it, though, people think of it as just like one more thing to put onto their plate. How do you think that in our communities and with our friends and in this community, we can frame self-care as something that doesn't feel heavy like that?
What I think it's whatever you're doing. You know, like when I'm in the car listening to a podcast, maybe the Mindful Mama movement, that listening to something that recharges me, you know, that it doesn't have to be something extra, but maybe something that you're already doing, like preparing a meal and enjoying it.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say integration.
Yeah.
You know, like knowing that the last thing we want to do is add another thing to the to-do. And I've so been there, Sarah. There's so many times where I've thought, oh, and I turn it back on myself. Like I feel like a failure. Oh, I should be working out this amount, or and then I don't. I think I'm going to go to the gym now and I'm going to do these 3 classes. And then that week goes by and I never went. And because my plate was too full. And so a lot for me is about just understanding, you know, believing that it's important, that when we're not being selfish, if we are taking a moment to take care of ourselves, it's really what we're doing is so that we have the energy and we feel better. So therefore we're more present, we're more available to whoever we're wanting to give to. But it's that depletion. It's like when you're depleted, it's like, how can you kind of be mindful, in essence, is about watching when you feel yourself depleting. How can you stop then, become aware of it, and then integrate a little moment of self-care? Maybe it's just listening to your breath, just taking a moment to breathe, or watching your kids. Like stop what you're doing and just watch that joy you talked about. Like just watch them play. Or have a really fast dance party, anything. Anytime I put Pink on or old school Madonna, I snap right back into feeling better, you know? So it's just integrating and really believing that you're worth it and that it matters.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'm not sure if we covered this, but maybe kind of, but what right now as a mom, what, are you willing to talk about what your greatest challenges are? Because I think it's sometimes important for us to hear what other people are going through. What are your challenges with your kids or just being a parent?
Well, everybody pour a cup of coffee. I know. We're going to be here a while. I mean, my kids are all pretty independent. You know, if I text my kids and say, I'm headed to a birth, I can't pick you up, they can get themselves home. So I feel like I remember being at the swimming pool when my babies were little and I saw mom reading a book and I wanted to like beat her ass, you know, like I was so jealous. I was so jealous. Like, you're reading. You probably don't even have kids. You know, this is crazy. And so I've moved through those challenges. I can read a book while my kids are swimming. But also just finding time really that we all can be together. My Ben is a freshman in high school and he's starting to have a social life. And my oldest is out of college but has moved back home for a year. And everybody just has different schedules, and being able to be together, all of us, and we all treasure it. Like whenever it happens, we all enjoy it. But also my kids, you know, I have all boys. My 12, 13, and 15-year-old are all going through puberty. And woo. So for really the first time in our lives, we have just big hormonal shifts happening. And so it feels emotional. and passionate about things that really don't need to be. It's just crazy. So, and homework, oh my gosh, everybody has homework, and my husband and I both are like, how'd we miss that? He forgot to turn in a paper. That just being able to really have the time to know if he's got a paper done or if he's behind in math. Yeah.
That's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. I mean, that it's just like, one of our boys had a tough semester just academically, and my husband and I, neither one were aware of it. Neither one. And we're like, all right, we got to get, our stuff together and tune in. And so really, we're just like every Friday that's like his and my dinner conversation. Like, look at, it's all available online now, that we can look online and see if somebody's behind and help them get caught up over the weekend and celebrate their victories and help them through their struggles.
Right. Do you, Ashley, I don't know how this is for you, but my parents were not involved with my academic life.
Nope.
Like that was mine.
Yeah.
And I feel like
my mom had no idea. And, it was, I was born in 1972, that I could sign her name to report cards. She had no idea. My mom has no idea about a paper I wrote or how I was doing in math. She has no idea to this day. I think she probably thinks I did good.
My parents would ask me, like, how's it going? And maybe I would tell them, and maybe I was really dramatic, like one of my kids, like, I don't know, but they weren't, they maybe because I was like a straight A student, and they knew that I
didn't need to be,
that I was on top of it. I feel like they were maybe a little bit more involved with some of my siblings that didn't necessarily have that, but even still, it wasn't there. They were checking in on us all the time, and I feel like there's a little bit, and I feel like I run into this in my parenting a lot, when there is something that like just wasn't a part of the parenting that I received, and then there is a obvious open door for me to do that in my own parenting, and I'm like, whoa, I have no clue how that's supposed to work, and I still don't know if, when I ask my kids how they're doing in school, I've gotten lately, why do you care? And I'm like, wow, because I have really left my kids to their own, like, have their own responsibility to it, because of the way that I was parented, I think, and just that, we homeschooled for a long time, and so we kind of have let them hold parts of their education the whole time. So that was a surprise to me, that they wondered why I cared, and so we had to have a conversation around that. It was a little bit of a whew.
Yeah, which is interesting, because that's kind of a challenge we're going through right now with our son, who's been at Montessori for the last 4 years, and we're really making decisions to be more mindful with our finances and live just differently, so my husband doesn't have to work so intensely. And it's been a hard transition to consider, and we are deciding to move him over to either we're going to try a public school and see how he does. And but we've always towed that line: should we homeschool? Should we not? Should we create some alternative schooling? And I guess for me, it's there's no right, and that's kind of my challenge, is to say, like, I don't know if this is going to mess him up or not. How is he going to make new friends? All those things. It's like, it's just part of the challenge that we're facing right now. And the other piece of it for me is, because my husband works so much and I'm still heavily taking care of a lot of the domestic stuff, I still struggle with trying to find space and time for the things I enjoy doing, but also for the time with my spouse. Is our days are so filled and busy, and that when it's our time, it's like the kids are finally asleep, and that's when I want quiet, and that's when he's available, So I feel like that's kind of a big challenge right now, is for us to kind of figure out how to make space for each other in this really, like, busy time.
Yeah. And it is important. I hear you on that one. It is a challenge
We
for
just
us.
kind of can't wait to go to bed. We used to stay up and, watch Parenthood or something together. And now when the boys go to bed, he and I head upstairs. And sometimes we really don't say a word, but just being in bed together and having physical touching just feels like such a relief for me.
Yeah. That sounds great. On the other side of that, what are your greatest joys right now? Because I feel like a part of this mindful mama thing is just recognizing that joy, like that there is joy in every day, even in the hard ones. So what about you? What are your joys?
My joy right now is my kids are at that stage. Like my 3-year-old still thinks he can catch squirrels. And I watch him, just everything is so amazing. And so their bond as brothers is like just for me so fun to watch. And so just being able to get to stay home with them and to be really involved and still get to do that, story time and take him to the play gym and that baby talk, where he can't say his F's, so he still talks, and that just like
Every single time I'm with Shannon and her youngest is with us, I'm like, I just want to record him. I can't even take it. I miss that stage, that little 3-year-old. Everything sounds so scrumptious,
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah. So just the joy of watching them in their stage right now. Ashton's losing his first tooth. And so just the excitement of when's that tooth going to come out. And right now that's my joy. And the joy of this podcast and getting to just connect with amazing women and do fun things that inspire me. That's my joy.
Great.
Very good. Oh gosh, for me, my kids are all just doing a lot of transitions that we don't have anybody that's little anymore. Like I said, really 3, kind of 2 in the middle of puberty, 1 that's just moving out of it. But I think I'm longing for them to be small, but I'm also just loving this relationship that my kids are talking politics with me. And Cole, who's my 13-year-old, he and I watched Dances with Wolves last night. And he was telling me, he made me pause, and he was telling me this great story that his social studies teacher had told him. And, just let me tell you, social studies has come a long way since we were kids.
Yeah.
That we did not learn an accurate, version of American history. And he loved watching that movie with me and stopping me and sharing. And so I just love having kind of an adult relationship with them also. I love it. But I also want them to stay little too.
Sarah, we have to wrap up, and I hate this because I could talk to you for hours. I really want to hear more about your homeschooling too, so we'll just have to chat more. But I would like to turn it back to you as we wrap up and just ask you, what does being a mindful mama mean to you?
So I think what it has come to mean to me is that I don't try to wish the moments away anymore. I have bigs and I have littles. That's what I call them, the bigs and the littles. Mm-hmm. And it is fleeting. Like, I cannot believe I have a 16-year-old that I also talk politics with.
Yeah.
That I talk about, that has a girl that maybe has a girlfriend, and a 15-year-old that has a boyfriend. Like, I can't, it seems like so long, so soon that they were little ones. And I think that just even in the chaos of all of it, breathing and enjoying and acknowledging the chaos and acknowledging the joy of my day helps me to be mindful. And that didn't come out very gracefully, but it's just like when I'm cooking dinner, and that's like the hardest time of my day, and there's so much noise and so much activity, to just stop in it instead of letting myself get agitated or whatever, to just stop and listen to the life that is happening. And this
Listen to the
crazy
life.
circus that I have created. We call it the doge, and that there will be a time when my house is quiet and I will miss that. And so just really kind of sinking into the circus and loving it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask you what your mindful mama moment would be, but I think that's a beautiful call to action to invite all of us. We're at whatever stage you are in this moment, wherever you are, whatever mess or chaos or challenge or joy or celebration that you're dealing with right now in this moment, as you hear these words, to listen to the life that is happening right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I know. It's one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard, Sarah.
Our new t-shirts.
I know.
Woohoo!
It's
Sarah,
beautiful.
this was so wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Both of you. It's really fun to talk to you.
It was really fun to talk to you.
Meet in person.
Great. Well, we will. Retreats coming soon.
Yay.
All right. Take care.
Love to both of you. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye. Okay, mamas, I hope you love the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for joining our group. This is for you. This show is for you. So if you have suggestions of guests or topics or anything to make the show better, email us info@mindfulmamamovement.com. And thank you. Just thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your life to take care of you. And we will see you next time.
Your heart and your soul.